afternoon, you blessed sightseeing buggers. Well, it's a pretty average afternoon here in South Grafton. Bit overcast and windy, but we're getting glimpses of sun every now and again, which is pretty cool. So, I'm sitting here in the Captain and thought I'd do an episode of Yarning Cars for you. But before I do, what about a cold start for you? Here we go. Prime the pump. Click, there we go. Not bad. Gotta love this car. Pretty reliable. We got the injector seals in, pick them up tomorrow or Tuesday and get them put in the engine cover back on. Engine's totally done. So, let's do an episode of Yarning Cars, shall we? This is a story I'd forgotten about, but the big fella reminded me about. Beep goes the stereo, and it's a pretty funny, interesting story. Years ago, I was into buying and selling and swapping cars. I bought a red XF 6-cylinder Falcon. It was a Fairmont gear, and had a big bull bar on it and limo diff, and I paid $250 for it with 3 months rego. A friend of mine at the time had this really nice Everglades green VH Commodore 5-speed, and it was coming up for rego, and it wouldn't re-rego because of the suspension. So we did a trade, and I ended up with this Commodore for a couple of months. Then another friend of mine said, "My daughter needs a car, that Commodore would be perfect. She's got a little BMW." So, I don't mind BMWs, I've owned one in the past. Well, it turned out it was the same as the first one I'd owned, a 1980 318i. Little 4-cylinder, it was a 5-speed manual, lime green in colour, very tidy
Google
car.
Sheets. Google.
Nice interior and that, just needed a good tidy up. The brakes were gone, bushings on the gear shift, just minor stuff.
Camera.
So, I did this trade, took the car home, we give it a really mad wash and polish and vacuum and armoured the interior and everything, and I put new tyres on it, painted the wheels gold, the factory dress rims and centre caps. Really nice, tidy looking car. Gave it a service, had just gotten the brakes done, and me and the big fella decided, let's take it for a bit of a test drive. Now, this particular BMW has a really strange induction system. The throttle body inlet faces downwards, and then you've got an air box underneath it. They actually got recalled because of this, because of the issue that inevitably happened to this BMW. So, this BMW, we've got to go, and we drove to a mate's place, purred like a kitten all the way there. As we're leaving, as you do, I give it a massive boot full in first and second, big burnout in first, took off up the road. We got about 3 blocks away and we're just cruising along, and the car went burp burp and backfired. Well, when it backfired, it exploded. Big fire come out from under the bonnet and the car cut. So we panicked. I'm reaching down for the bonnet lever, which is on the other side of the car, so I'm screaming at Big Guy, open the bonnet. So by the time we worked it out, we got the bonnet open. This engine was well on fire. I'm talking 2-3 foot flames. So we'd just driven past a group of houses into this rural area. It was the last lot of houses before you pretty much hit the edge of town. So I've grabbed this poor BMW by the tow bar and started pulling it back down the road towards the houses while the whole front of the car's on fire. Runs across into this lady's yard, grabs a hose, turns it on, bolts back across the yard. Made it about 3/4 of the way before I run out of hose and ended up on my ass, sitting there watching my BMW burn. Like, by this stage the flames were a good 4 foot high over the roof. The car started running on its own because the battery had melted and engaged the starter, and luckily it was in neutral. And the car proceeded to burn until the fire brigade come and put it out. That car was worth around $10,000 at the time. I was hoping to really cash in on that. Now it's probably, in the condition it's in, it would have been worth around 30, I reckon. But it ended up a smouldering and melted mess. And that's the blind man's story of the burning BMW. It died a tragic death. You could have toasted marshmallows on the
Palm Tree Desert Oasis.
So, hope you've enjoyed this episode of Yarn and Cars. And let's give the captain a bit of a rev now. She's a wee warm, eh? Nice. Back to a nice even idle. So, captain's running good. Had a nice warm up. I told you a good yarn about my antics in my past. And remember the rules. Keep tyres turning for Tilly. Cheers, guys.
Camera.
Camera. Stop
Camera. Pause recording. Stop record.